Hi friends, welcome back to the channel Learning Literature Online. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe it and hit the bell icon so that you won't miss the regular updates from this channel. Today, let us discuss a famous poem, One Flesh by Elizabeth Jennings. The poem One Flesh is the poet's intrigue into passionless marriage of her parents. It is being explored in sad nostalgic tone. The poem One Flesh has wider relevance in the present contemporary scenario because in this poem the poet presents her parents as living, even though in physical proximity, they are living in mentally detached way. Just like as it is in the present, many couples are living in emotional distance. They are emotionally separated, even though they are living in a single room. The title One Flesh is taken from the book of Genesis in the story of creation of Eve in the Garden of Eden. She was created from the rib of Adam. Adam recognized that the two individuals were one flesh and could not be divided. This concept is extended to the concept of marriage, where two individuals are one entity. This concept, this teaching, is related to the belief of Jennings, as she is a Roman Catholic. It has affected her more. Elizabeth Jennings, the poet, was born on 18th July 1926 and was died on 26th October 2001. She was an English poet and a devout Roman Catholic. She was regarded as a traditionalist rather than an innovator. The poet Elizabeth Jennings was known for her mastery of forms and lyric poetry. Her works were marked with its emotional restraints and connection with Roman Catholic Church. She was often compared to and contrasted with the poets of the movement that was prevalent in those days, like T.S. Eliot and W.H. Auden. She is considered one of the greatest poets of 20th century after Second World War. The poem One Flesh. Lying apart now, each in a separate bed, he with a book keeping the light on late, she like a girl dreaming of childhood. All men elsewhere, it is as if they wait some new event. The book he holds unread, her eyes fixed on the shadows overhead. In the first stanza, the poet explores the physical separation of her parents in two single beds. Her father wants to read, but he is not able to concentrate. He keeps the light on as if busy, while mother dreams of childhood and ponders on men in general, while the poet imagines that they are in suspense, waiting for some new event. Sometimes it may be death itself. Both they are just starting emptily. He at book, she at the shadows. They seem physically and mentally and even emotionally they are apart. They are separated. Tossed up like flotsam from a former passion, how cool they lie, they hardly ever touch. or if they do, it is like confession of having little feeling or too much. Chastity faces them a destination for which their whole lives were a preparation. In the second stanza, the poet reveals her belief that the two were in love at one point of time. They are remnants of their former passion at present. Now they are being tossed up like flotsam from a former passion. Formerly they were in love. She observes them, how cool they lie. They are lying in separate bed. How cool they lie. They have no emotion. Hardly ever touch. They are not touching. Or if they do, sometimes it is like a confession of having little feeling. If they touch at present, the touching itself is like a confession of having no feeling or too much. Now chastity faces them. Chastity, before marriage, the society compels people to observe chastity. So it is being conditioned in their life. So it is being considered as a destination for which their whole lives were a preparation. From the beginning of the life till they are getting married, they are preparing to observe chastity. Here, the poets remarks on how their old bodies are like waste from their years of passion, now that their passion is dead. They have grown physically apart, without visible affection or physical contact. If they are touching, it is just a reminder of how unemotional they have become. They face a passionless future. Strangely apart, yet strangely close together. Silence between them like a thread to hold and not to wind in. And time itself is a feather touching them gently. Do they know they are old? These two are my father and my mother, whose fire from which I came has now grown cold. In the last stanza, the focus was on the love they had once experienced in the life and how they have turned emotionless at present. In this stanza, the poet focuses the shift from love to time. They are strangely apart, yet strangely close together. Even though they are mentally and emotionally apart, they are physically close together. They are living in a single room. Silence between them like a thread to hold and not to wind in. The silence between them acts like a thread to hold their bondage and not wind in. And time itself is a feather touching them gently. Here, the poet is conscious of the passage of time. The speaker or the poet questions the significance of their lives and whether or not they realize or the parents realize that the parents are wasting precious moments they have with one another. They do not know. They know. Do they know they are old? These two, who are my father and my mother, whose fire from which I came has now grown cold. These two, who are my father and my mother. I have came from them. They have grown so-called emotionless by the passage of time. They have to enjoy the moment. The parents are not aware of the passage of time. Here, the poet speaks of her surprise, seeing them strangely apart and strangely close together. She wonders, they may have shared experience of memories, love, and companionship. But at present, they are physically apart, and mentally and emotionally they are apart, while they are physically together in a single room. The unspoken silence between them unites them. It is like a thread to hold and not wind. She asks that whether her parents are aware of the passage of time. Time itself is a feather touching them gently. Do they know they are becoming old? And finally, she says that these are my father and my mother, whose fire from which I came has now grown cold. She also reveals her concept of marriage. She has her views on love and marriage from her parents. She has only seen a marriage that has grown lifeless, even though it has lasted. The poem One Flesh is consistent in nature. The poem is made up of 3 stanzas. Each stanza has 6 lines. This consistency indicates the consistent nature of the separateness of the subject. The poet uses present tense. The present tense also indicates their continual unhappiness in the life of the couples. Thank you.